for it there. Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Beckham Jr. I serve as CEO of Chicago Scholars, and beyond the title is I am a child of God, a son of two parents who are Southsiders, Lindblom graduates, and from Auburn Gresham, respectively. And so first, being a son of a minister, I want to make sure that I honor and respect this house that I stand before you in, and the foundational leader, the social impact icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. today, and give him his honor and due. He said thank you for the opportunity, and to Operation Push up here before you to talk a little bit about the significance of Brown versus the Board of Education. But moreover, also to make sure that I thank this house for continuing to support my family, John Mitchell and his wife, Karita Mitchell, my first cousin, and her two children, John and Camilla. You all have continued to stand in the gap for them, and I just want to thank you personally as I'm before you today. Now, long before I related any work at Chicago Scholars and stepped onto any stage to speak about education, what I knew about education as a little kid from my great-grandmother was the words she recited from Dr. King at our kitchen table on 78th and Loomis. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. You see, intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. Now today, 71 years after Brown versus the Board of Education, we gather Rainbow Push not just to remember a legal ruling, but to ask ourselves, have we fulfilled the moral obligation behind that decision? May 17th, 1954 was the day the law caught up to what Black America already knew. That segregation in our schools was a violent betrayal of the American promise. You know, Dr. King warned us, we are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. And today in 2025, that urgency has reared its head again with new names, new policies, and new masks. Our task is not just to remember Brown, but to reimagine it. For a generation living through cultural erasure, digital inequity, systemic underfunding, book bans, and the threat of the real elimination of critical programs from the Department of Education that has seen Black high school rates and graduation rates show significant improvement and even begin to close the education gap where the number is halved, Black and brown to white graduation. Now, the Brown decision wasn't just about desegregation. It was about access to funding, to high quality teachers, to safe buildings, to opportunity, to what so many call the foundation of the American dream. It was about dignity. In this very house, Reverend Jackson once said, inclusion is not a matter of political correctness. It is the key to growth. But inclusion without investment is an illusion. Yes, the legal signs that read colored only are gone, but as we now face subtler signs, disguised as zoning maps and algorithmic sorting and AI-based bias and school board takeovers and school closures, these signs say your neighborhood isn't worth the investment. Your kids are too risky. College isn't for you. You're only here because of the color of your skin, not the merit of your accomplishments. They've replaced segregation by law with segregation by intentional neglect. Book bans target Black authors. Race-conscious admissions have been outlawed. Some states are even erasing Black history from their curriculum under the guise of divisive concepts. Let's name the truth with data. We're facing resegregation. 59% of Black students attend schools where more than 70% of their classmates are students of color. The predominantly Black or brown institutions are significantly more likely to lack AP courses, art programs, and even counselors. Just in Chicago, a student may get an average of 1 to 1.5 hours of college counseling, when white counterparts at well-funded schools get 14 to 15 hours. Black boys make up just 9.6% of U.S. public education school enrollment, but account for over 30% of expulsions and suspensions. Black students are significantly underrepresented in computer science, calculus, and gifted programs across the country. Did you know in Illinois, a year and a half ago, we had just 9 Black women graduate with degrees in computer science? Wow. Only 34% of Black men who enter college complete a bachelor's degree within 6 years, compared to 60% of white students. But we heard earlier, we're graduating 85% of our students. Where's the disconnect? 1 in 3 black households still lack access to broadband internet in 2025, making remote learning, job searching, and college applications harder, if not impossible. When's the last time you walked into a store and asked for a paper job application? I'm reminded of a young man named Stephen Wilson from Inglewood. As part of my program, we started something called the Unprecedented Shot. Stephen's a senior studying mechanical engineering at The Ohio State University. He started a program funding 6 scholarships from young men from his community, Inglewood, while he's still in college, because he saw the great need in the gap. As Chicago Scholars, we're not waiting for someone else to fix the system. We're building a new one. We serve first-generation and low-income students, most of whom are black or brown. We provide college access, mentorship, career readiness, and most importantly, community. 95% of our students go to college. 84% graduate with less than $40,000 in student debt. 77% complete internships. And 80% return to Chicago to do the work with us. But we noticed a troubling trend. At the time I took over 5 years ago, only 20% of our students were young men of color. So I launched the Young Men of Color Initiative to change that. Now we're at 30%, pairing those young men with mentors, resources, and visibility. Thank you. I'll share that this initiative was actually born from pain. After surviving an attempted carjacking in 2022 that left me temporarily blinded, when I realized that vision's vital, not just physically, but spiritually. Our young men and girls need to see what's possible. If the system won't show them, we must. So let's be very clear about it. We are living through a coordinated national effort to roll back programs for marginalized students. Book bans, eliminating DEI offices, taking affirmative action out of higher education. We've even seen bills proposed that ban teaching about slavery, redlining, or systemic racism, calling it divisive. But the truth is only divisive to those who benefit from silence. Again, reminded by the words of Dr. King. Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And Reverend Jackson challenges us. You can't leave out the poor, the dispossessed, the disinherited, the left out, and the locked out, and still have a great nation. And yet now, from Tallahassee to Texas to our own backyard, those very people, those that are in need, are under attack. Last fall, I went to the suburbs to speak at a school about DEI. A board member interrupted me and asked, can we focus on excellence instead of race? I paused. I looked and I said, excellence without equity and power is just elitism in a cap and gown. Afterwards, a black minister pulled me aside and whispered, that's what I've been wanting to say for years. Her eyes were full of both gratitude and fatigue. Let me be clear. While the Biden-Harris administration made investments in education, from student loan forgiveness to pandemic relief for schools, these efforts are under siege. Please understand this, the rights of black students, the funding of our schools, and the very existence of organizations like Chicago Scholars are on the line, with threats of pulling 501c3s and retribution. This is not a time for silence, but this is a time for strategy. We must stay engaged, stay informed, and above all, stay in the fight. So I'm recoining a new project 2025. I'm asking them to fund our schools by need, not by zip code. To guarantee high quality early learning and establish preschool programs. To protect DEI from classrooms to the C-suite. Expand advanced coursework in computer science access, making AI fluency and literacy a decision for all students. Invest in community solutions. Invest in our HBCUs and organizations like Chicago Scholars that help our students lift as they climb. And to all of you, everyone in the room,